Winter of 1942. Stalingrad lay in ruins. Smoke rose from shattered buildings. Frost coated the streets. Soldiers moved cautiously, eyes scanning every shadow. Every corner seemed alive with whispers. Among the troops, rumors began to spread. Stories of an old woman, appearing at dusk, collecting the dead. They called her the Phantom of the Ruins. Some swore they saw her frail figure moving between collapsed walls, dragging bodies silently, leaving no trace behind. Officers recorded singular disappearances, entries marked as fate unknown, yet no official explanation was ever given. Diaries speak of fear, unease, a presence that chills the blood. One entry notes, "I followed her once. She vanished into the smoke. The bodies were gone by morning." Such accounts recur in multiple regiments. Soldiers spoke of soft murmurs in the wind, shadows shifting unnaturally, fleeting glimpses of hollow eyes, folklore mixed with fact. Villagers whispered that she was neither living nor dead, a collector of souls, drawn to battlefields, her hands cold as winter's grave. Superstitions grew. The old woman became a symbol of the city's anguish, of countless lives swallowed by war, yet always just beyond reach. Some claimed she brought warnings. Others believed she dragged men to join the dead, each story tinged with dread, each recollection leaving a lingering echo in the mind. Beyond military records, beyond diaries, the whispers persisted, in the ruins, in the wind, in the frozen streets. She existed in liminal space between reality and myth, haunting the soldiers who survived, yet unseen by commanding officers. Her figure described differently. Some said tattered garments, others swore she glowed faintly in twilight. Bodies seemed to vanish where she passed. An officer's report mentions corpses placed in lines. Morning comes. Empty. No signs of removal. The men panic. The blend of documented events and folklore created a tapestry of terror. The old woman was an echo of death itself, yet strangely human, or perhaps something beyond humanity. Fear mixed with fascination. Soldiers left fragments in journals, each a puzzle piece, each hinting at a larger, unexplainable pattern. The city itself seemed complicit. Broken streets and rubble forming corridors for her to move unseen. Some claimed to hear soft humming, a lullaby of the dead, drifting through shattered rooms, chilling the living. Winter nights stretched long, frost coating corpses and stones alike. The old woman became a shadow motif, recurring elsewhere. Rumors of similar figures in other Eastern Front locations, yet none matched exactly. The legend grew organically. Soldiers shared stories quietly, careful not to attract ridicule. Yet the fear was real, bodies disappearing, whispers echoing through ruined buildings, a shadow moving with purpose, sometimes crouched, sometimes standing tall, always just out of reach. Survivors recalled the feeling of being watched, an itch along the spine, eyes that were not theirs. One account reads, "I felt her behind me, a cold breath on my neck. I dared not turn. She was gone when I looked." Tales blending memory and imagination. Yet consistent details emerge, dragging corpses, appearing at dusk, never speaking, always observing. The fact layer shows unexplained removals, diary entries, military notes. The folklore layer fills the gaps. Human fear transformed into myth. The old woman stands as a bridge between what is recorded and what is whispered. Soldiers called her many names, none official. She was the phantom, the collector, the shadow, a presence defining Stalingrad's horror beyond bullets and fire. Yet her purpose remained obscure. Some thought she mourned, others feared she punished. Either way, she became part of the city's collective memory, impossible to ignore, impossible to forget. Twilight settled over Stalingrad. The city groaned under winter's weight, the scent of smoke lingering in frozen air. Soldiers huddled in ruined buildings, sharing hushed whispers. The old woman had been seen again, crouching near collapsed walls, moving silently through the shadows. A corporal wrote in his diary, "She appears when the sun retreats, dragging bodies yet leaving no footprints. It is as if the earth itself refuses to hold them." His words trembled across the page, the ink smudged with frost. The diary later vanished from the archives, erased, or perhaps hidden. In another account, a young soldier claimed he followed her through the rubble, hearts pounding, breaths visible in the cold air. He dared not speak, only to see her silhouette vanish through a wall of smoke. The corpses he had observed were gone by morning, leaving him questioning reality itself. Soldiers began noticing patterns. The old woman appeared where the most destruction had occurred, near collapsed bunkers, in streets flattened by shells, sometimes accompanied by a faint wind, carrying whispers of the fallen. Some reported hearing cries. Others described low murmurs, words unrecognizable yet strangely familiar, as though memories of the dead seeped through. Local folklore began merging with these accounts. Villagers remembered tales of spectral figures, women who wandered battlefields during harsh winters, collecting souls lost in war, guiding them to the afterlife, or perhaps to a darker fate. Soldiers laughed nervously, yet a cold chill ran down their spines each time dusk fell, each time shadows deepened. A medical officer recorded peculiar occurrences in his notes. Bodies once accounted for would vanish overnight. Boots left standing in corridors, blankets folded neatly, as if someone unseen had arranged the scene. Attempts to track the removals failed. Reports conflicted. Many entries were redacted later, classified as unexplained anomalies. Fear intertwined with fascination. Soldiers claimed she never harmed the living, yet her presence carried an undeniable threat. Eyes hollow, expressionless, hands freezing to the touch of the fallen. Whispers said she remembered every death, every scream, every tragedy. Repeating in a silent chorus no one could escape. Some nights the city itself seemed alive. Frosted rubble shifted. Faint footsteps echoed where none should exist. Shadows stretched unnaturally, bending around corners, pausing, watching. Soldiers swore they felt watched even when alone. Their breath quickened, hearts thudding, instinct warning them of an invisible presence. A lieutenant's journal mentions, "I saw her from afar, thin-bent yet moving with purpose, dragging the dead as though fulfilling a ritual older than the war. I cannot explain, nor will I sleep easily again." Many similar entries exist, across multiple regiments, corroborating the recurring sight. Yet no photograph or sketch survived. The line between reality and legend blurred. Fact, the disappearances, the diaries, the reports intertwined with folklore, the whispers, the shadowy figure, the spectral movements. Soldiers began to refer to her in hushed tones, calling her the collector, the old woman, the shadow of death. One report describes an impossible scene: a snow-covered square, corpses laid in neat rows, the old woman moving between them, tracing hands over frozen faces, and then vanishing into a swirl of wind and ash. When the soldiers approached, the bodies were gone, leaving only empty footprints in the frost. Stories crossed regiments. Tales spread quietly, never officially acknowledged, always dismissed as fatigue or hallucination. Yet every account shared consistent details: Dusk appearances, silent dragging of corpses, the haunting sense of being observed, the lingering echoes of death. The city itself seemed a stage for her presence. Streets flattened by shells, buildings hollowed by fire, alleys twisting unnaturally, each providing corridors for the phantom to move unseen. Soldiers became wary of every shadow, every flicker of movement, questioning their senses, doubting reality. And still, she appeared, almost ritualistically, never harming the living, yet leaving indelible fear in their minds, a reminder of the fragility of life and the certainty of death. The fact layer records disappearances, diary notes, officer reports. The folklore layer whispers in the dark of a woman neither living nor dead, an entity entwined with the horror of Stalingrad itself. Night fell over Stalingrad, the city a frozen graveyard of rubble and ruin. Soldiers kept watch, eyes straining through darkness, each shadow a potential threat, each gust of wind a whisper from the past. Reports mentioned sightings on the outskirts, near the Volga's icy banks. A frail figure gliding between overturned wagons and collapsed fortifications, dragging bodies silently, leaving no trace, footprints disappearing as if swallowed by the frost. One diary entry reads, "I saw her near the bakery ruins, bent over motionless. Then she turned her head, eyes hollow staring through me. I felt a chill like no other. When I blinked, she was gone, and the body she touched was no longer there." The ink smudged. The diary later disappeared from official records. Soldiers began to notice the pattern. She appeared where devastation was greatest, where death lingered thickest, near collapsed bunkers, streets flattened by bombardments. Whispers claimed the wind itself carried her voice, murmuring names of the fallen, a sound that made men shiver and tremble, sometimes thought they recognized it. A memory, a lost voice from home, or perhaps a warning. Medical logs from field hospitals hint at unexplained occurrences. Patients reported seeing her gliding silently along corridors, dragging bodies from frozen streets, sometimes pausing to stare at them, leaving an aura of cold despair behind. Nurses noted heightened anxiety, yet official orders forbade mention of the events. The records were redacted, classified as unexplained anomalies. Fear grew alongside fascination. Soldiers spoke in hushed tones, sharing sightings over meager rations, describing her movements, the cold touch of her hands on corpses, the hollow echo of her steps, always silent, always precise. The embodiment of death, yet strangely purposeful. Some evenings, frost-laden streets seemed alive, rubble shifting slightly, faint noises where none should exist, shadows bending unnaturally, moving with intelligence. Soldiers felt eyes upon them, hairs rising on their necks, a presence just beyond perception. The old woman ever near, ever watching. A lieutenant noted I glimpsed her from the watchtower, a thin, stooped figure, dragging a body across the square. She paused, and I swear, she turned towards me. I felt her gaze, yet when I descended, the body was gone, as if the night itself had swallowed it. Multiple accounts echo similar details: dusk appearances, silent handling of the dead, the sense of being observed, fear etched into memory. Folklore merged seamlessly with documented fact. Villagers whispered of spirits who claimed the souls of the fallen, spectral women who roamed battlefields, carrying away the dead, or perhaps guiding them to another realm. Soldiers dismissed such stories nervously, yet the experiences they endured matched them too closely to ignore. Patterns emerged across regiments. Similar figures seen in other sectors of the Eastern Front. Descriptions varied slightly, yet the motif persisted. A solitary woman, appearing at twilight, collecting the dead, leaving only fear and unanswered questions behind. One soldier's journal recounts, "She appeared in the courtyard, dragging a fallen man toward the river. I wanted to intervene, yet my feet froze. She turned her eyes hollow, and in a swirl of smoke she was gone. The man was gone, leaving only silence and frost." The city itself seemed an accomplice, rubble forming corridors for her movement, alleys twisting unnaturally, buildings hollowed by fire, providing spaces for her to pass unseen. Soldiers became hyper-aware, questioning every sound, every flicker of movement, doubting their senses, doubting reality. And still she continued her ritual, appearing without fail, never harming the living, yet leaving indelible fear behind. A constant reminder of mortality, of the fragility of life. The fact layer preserved disappearances, diary entries, officer reports. The folklore layer whispered in the dark. A woman neither living nor dead, entwined with the horror of Stalingrad. Dawn crept over Stalingrad, pale light struggling through smoke and frost. The streets were silent, save for distant groans of the wounded and the whisper of wind through ruined buildings. Soldiers emerged from shelters, wary, eyes darting, each shadow suspicious, each movement a potential threat. Reports from that morning speak of the old woman once more, near a collapsed granary, dragging corpses across frozen ground, stooping low, then rising, vanishing between broken walls, leaving no evidence, only frost-marked paths that disappeared into rubble. One soldier's diary reads, "I followed her for what seemed hours. The bodies vanished as she passed. I called out. No answer. Just the wind. And then she was gone, as if swallowed by the ruins themselves." The diary was later confiscated, removed from official records, leaving only whispered rumors behind. Patterns became apparent. She appeared near the heaviest destruction, where artillery shells had torn streets apart, where fire had gutted buildings. Soldiers reported hearing soft murmurs, words carried on the wind, indecipherable, yet chilling, sometimes seeming to repeat names of men who had died days before, or perhaps years. Medical officers recorded strange phenomena. Corpses found missing in the morning, blankets neatly folded, footprints absent. Attempts to trace movements were futile, reports marked as anomalous, details often redacted, leaving gaps in the historical record. Yet the fear among soldiers persisted, palpable, unnerving. Some claimed she never touched the living, yet her presence alone froze the blood. Eyes hollow, expressionless, hands as cold as the grave. Whispers told she remembered every death, every scream, replaying silently in a spectral chorus, a presence inescapable, intangible, eternal. Soldiers began altering routines, avoiding streets at dusk, sharing stories only in whispers, careful not to draw attention. Yet fascination grew. Some watched from shadows, hoping to see her vanish. Others feared they would, knowing they might not survive the encounter. The psychological strain was profound. The city itself became a labyrinth of dread. One officer's journal mentions I saw her crossing the square, dragging a body, paused, looked up, eyes hollow. I froze. When I moved, she and the corpse were gone. Impossible. Yet I saw it. Multiple accounts confirm similar sightings, always at dusk, always collecting the dead, always leaving fear behind. Folklore and fact intertwined. Villagers spoke of spectral women, spirits who collected souls from battlefields, carrying them to other realms, or perhaps binding them to the land. Soldiers dismissed such tales nervously, yet experiences on the ground mirrored the legends too closely to ignore. Stories spread quietly, across regiments, always hushed, never formally acknowledged. The old woman became a motif, recurring in whispers, across campaigns, across units. Her figure, a lone collector at twilight, emerged as both warning and enigma. One diary recounts, she appeared at the frozen riverbank, dragging bodies to the water. I approached, feet frozen. She turned, hollow eyes, vanished into a swirl of mist, the corpses gone, leaving silence and frost. A question that remains unanswered. The city itself seemed complicit, rubble and ruins forming corridors, alleys twisting unnaturally, buildings hollowed by shells, each providing paths for her to move unseen. Soldiers hyper-aware, questioning every sound, every flicker of shadow, doubting senses, doubting reality itself. And yet, despite her appearances, she harmed no living soldier. She left only fear and memory, a reminder of the fragility of life, a constant echo of death's inevitability. The fact layer preserves disappearances, diary notes, officer reports, while the folklore layer whispers in the dark of a woman neither living nor dead, entwined with the horror of Stalingrad. Evening fell over Stalingrad, shadows lengthening across frozen streets, smoke curling from collapsed chimneys. Soldiers moved with caution, each step measured, each glance searching, each sound amplified. Reports mention the old woman once more, near a destroyed barracks, crouched among debris, dragging a corpse silently across the frost. Soldiers watched from behind shattered walls, hearts hammering, breath shallow, yet unable to intervene. A corporal's diary describes, she paused, lifted the body. I swear her eyes glowed faintly, cold, hollow. I could feel my blood freeze. She vanished into the ruins, and the body was gone by dawn. The diary would later vanish, leaving only whispers, rumors. Fear carried in hushed tones. Patterns persisted. She always appeared where the death had been greatest, where bombardments had leveled streets, where fire had gutted homes. Murmurs in the wind repeated names, or perhaps they were echoes of memories, of men long dead, or soldiers lost to frost and fire. Medical officers noted anomalies, corpses unaccounted for, blankets folded, footprints absent, movements invisible, reports logged as unexplained, later redacted, a chilling silence filling the gaps, leaving soldiers to speculate, to fear, to imagine. Some claimed she never touched the living, yet her presence alone froze the blood. Hollow eyes, expressionless, hands colder than winter itself. Legends whispered she remembered every death, every scream, repeating endlessly, a spectral chorus in the ruins. Soldiers altered routines, avoiding streets at dusk, sharing sightings only in whispers, fascination mingling with terror. Some attempted to track her movements. Others froze at the thought, fearing their lives would end in the shadow of her hollow gaze. The psychological strain was palpable, haunting every night, every ruined alley, every frost-covered street. A lieutenant recorded I saw her glide across the square, dragging a body, paused, looked toward me, eyes hollow. I could not move. When I dared approach, she and the corpse had vanished. Impossible, yet undeniable. Multiple accounts across regiments echoed similar events. Dusk appearances, silent collection of corpses, leaving fear and uncertainty behind. Folklore and documented fact intertwined. Villagers recalled tales of spectral women, spirits collecting souls, guiding them to unknown realms. Soldiers dismissed these stories, yet the reality they witnessed mirrored legend too closely to ignore. Stories spread quietly. Soldiers exchanging whispers over cold rations, hushed conversations, always careful not to attract attention. The old woman became a recurring motif, a warning and a mystery. Her figure alone evoking terror, her presence etching memory into those who saw her. One entry in a field journal recounts, "She appeared at the frozen river, dragging corpses to the edge. I approached, feet frozen. She turned, hollow eyes staring, vanished in mist. The bodies gone, leaving only frost. Silence. A question unanswered. The city itself seemed complicit, rubble and ruins forming corridors, alleys twisting unnaturally, buildings hollowed by bombardments, providing paths for her to move unseen. Soldiers hyper-aware, questioning every shadow, every noise, doubting their senses, doubting reality itself. Yet she continued, never harming the living, leaving only fear, a reminder of mortality, a shadow of death and memory intertwined. The fact-layer disappearances, diary entries, officer reports. The folklore. Layer whispers shadows' spectral presence. A woman neither living nor dead, entwined with Stalingrad's horror. Night deepened over Stalingrad, a bitter wind howling through shattered streets, the city silent save for groans of the wounded and the distant crackle of fire. Soldiers patrolled cautiously, every shadow a potential threat, every flicker of movement a warning. Reports describe her appearing near the ruins of the town hall, crouched over a corpse, lifting it with unnatural strength, moving silently into alleys no one dared enter. Those who glimpsed her froze, hearts pounding, breaths visible in the cold air. Yet she passed without a sound, leaving only empty streets behind. One diary reads, I followed her into a courtyard, bodies strewn across frost-covered stones. She paused, turned her hollow eyes toward me. I felt the cold of death itself. When I blinked, she was gone, and the corpses were gone, vanished as if swallowed by the night. The diary vanished soon after, removed from archives, or hidden deliberately. Patterns grew undeniable. Wherever destruction had been greatest, wherever artillery had torn buildings apart, she appeared, dragging bodies, whispering names, or perhaps echoing memories, cries of the lost. Soldiers reported feeling their own names spoken on the wind, though no living voice existed. Medical officers' logs hint at impossible phenomena. Corpses missing, blankets folded neatly, footprints erased, movements untraceable, reports redacted, classified as anomalous, leaving only speculation and a growing sense of dread. Soldiers' fear became obsession. They altered routes, avoided streets at dusk, exchanged whispers in hushed tones. Curiosity mingled with terror. Some attempted to track her. Others froze in place, fearing her gaze would claim them. Nights grew longer, hallucinations creeping in, yet sightings persisted, always consistent, always chilling. One officer's journal records I saw her at the frozen square, dragging a body, paused, turned toward me, eyes hollow. I could not move. When I dared step closer, she and the corpse had vanished. Impossible, yet real. Multiple accounts across regiments mirrored this, the motif persistent, the phantom collector appearing at twilight, taking the dead, leaving fear in her wake. Folklore merged seamlessly with fact. Villagers whispered of spirits, spectral women, carrying the fallen to unknown realms. Soldiers scoffed nervously. Yet the experiences mirrored legend too closely, reality bending into myth, terror solidifying in the mind. An entry describes a surreal scene, a courtyard blanketed in frost, bodies aligned, the old woman gliding among them, tracing cold fingers over frozen faces, then dissolving into a swirl of smoke. The corpses gone by dawn, leaving only silence and frost. A question unanswered, a horror unresolved. The city itself seemed complicit. Alleys twisted unnaturally, rubble forming corridors, hollowed buildings allowing unseen passage, soldiers hyper-aware, eyes darting, ears straining, questioning every movement, every sound, doubting reality itself. Yet she appeared, always, a silent observer, a collector, a shadow intertwined with death itself. Her presence left indelible fear, chilling to the bone, haunting dreams, echoes of footsteps, whispers of the dead. Fact layer disappearances, diary entries, officer notes, folklore. Layer whispers shadows, spectral movements, the woman neither living nor dead, entwined with Stalingrad's ruin, a climax of horror beyond bullets and fire. Dawn broke over Stalingrad, pale light spilling across frozen streets, ruins silent yet heavy with memory. The wind whispered through broken buildings, soldiers emerged cautiously, hearts still hammering. The old woman had vanished, or perhaps she had never truly been there. Accounts persisted. Diaries, fragmented reports, whispered rumors, all hinting at a presence beyond comprehension, a collector of the dead, a shadow straddling life and death. Some claimed she mourned the fallen. Others believed she punished the living. Yet her purpose remained unknowable. The city itself seemed complicit. Hollowed buildings, twisted alleys, frozen streets, forming corridors for unseen passage. Each shadow a warning. Every gust of wind a voice from the past, reality and legend intertwined, leaving those who witnessed her unsure where fact ended and myth began. Even now, long after the battle stories linger, fleeting glimpses in ruined streets, hollow eyes, cold hands, vanishing into smoke and frost, leaving only questions and a lingering chill. Who was the old woman? A spirit, a memory, vengeance made flesh, or something beyond understanding. No record can fully explain her. Only diaries, whispers, and the echoes of Stalingrad's horror. Her story remains unresolved, a shadow among shadows, a haunting reminder of mortality, of the fragility of life, and the thin line separating reality from legend. You have just heard another account from Echoes of the Unknown, a shadow story from history's edge. If you want to uncover more mysteries like this, follow us and step carefully, for the shadows are never empty.